You're going to get the back of my head, people. Hello, Geeks and Gamers. Matt Lemke here with True Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, and we're at Gen Con 2014 in Harebrained Schemes booth. That was a mouthful. And we're going to talk about Shadowrun Dragonfall. I did say it right. Yes, I did. And we're going to chat about Golem Arcana. But I think we're going to start with Shadowrun Dragonfall. What's new and unique about this expansion?
So, Shadowrun Dragonfall. So first of all, we've already shipped Shadowrun Dragonfall. We started with Shadowrun Returns, which came out about a year or so ago now. The first expansion for that was Shadowrun Dragonfall. And we just recently announced that coming next is what we're calling Dragonfall the Director's Cut.
So, okay, my bad. Yeah.
So the Director's Cut, Dragonfall Director's Cut, it's the Dragonfall expansion, but expanded further with 5 new missions. The graphics have been improved. We've got a new UI, which makes the game a little bit easier to play, and there are various improvements around artificial intelligence and all that stuff. So we think the name Director's Cut really captures it. It's sort of a return to Dragonfall, just kind of up-leveled and made even better.
And okay, so how long? Well, I guess there's plenty of players that are going to go through it in 24 hours.
Probably.
So what is the replayability?
So actually, the replayability in Dragonfall is actually quite good for a game of its type. There's a lot of complexity in the storyline and a lot of little avenues and interesting interrelationships between the characters that you can explore and delve into. I was just talking to a gentleman a little while ago who just finished replaying it a second time, and he was telling me how surprised he was at all the things that he missed the first time through, and he still hasn't found everything yet. So it's actually pretty good.
Well, that's excellent. That's excellent. And what's going to be next for Shadowrun?
Well, who knows? That's interesting. Yeah, we're making plans. We've got schemes. Stay tuned.
All right. Well, then we're going to move into Golem Arcana, which is wow. We'll just say it's a wow. A new. I'm not going to call it a trend, but it's definitely trending. You use your wireless device Bluetooth device for rules, stats, combat in a new miniature style game with pretty high quality miniatures. Pre-painted. I mean, they're not, like some 40K guys paint, but I would say they're tabletop quality and beyond. That's a fair assessment, I think. Being somebody who likes to paint and play those games, I'd say I paint a little bit better than they do, and then I have to move to the next model. I got 10,000 unpainted models.
Yeah.
That's a bad problem, right? So, how long have you guys been working on it?
We've been working on Golem Arcana for about 14 months or so. We were at Gen Con last year, just a couple months into development with a very early prototype. And here we are 1 year later at Gen Con with actual shipping product and real minis and all that. We're really excited.
Wow, only 14 months.
Yeah.
Surely the idea wasn't born 14 months ago.
Not much longer than that, actually. So where the idea comes from is one of the things that's really unique about Harebrained is we have really, really deep roots in the tabletop gaming space. Our co-founder Jordan Wiseman, he founded FASA way back when, responsible for games like Shadowrun and Battletech. He went on and founded WizKids and Mage Knight and HeroClix and all that stuff. So Jordan's been around the tabletop industry for a very, very long time. Myself as well. I've done a long stint in the tabletop industry. I was writing role-playing game books and things like that many years ago. In fact, we were just reminiscing earlier that my first work in games, when I was a high school student, I used to write role-playing game books for Jordan at FASA. So we go back a ways, we have deep roots in this tabletop world. At the same time, many of us at Harebrained, including Jordan and myself, have equally deep roots in the computer gaming space. We both have a couple of decades worth of experience making computer and video games and all of that. So the central idea behind Golem Arcana is, there must be a way that we can use all this technology that we learned about making computer games to kind of take those old tabletop games we love to a whole new level and do really interesting, unprecedented things with them. So that was what we set off to explore at Golem. So the result is a tactical, full-featured tactical miniatures game. But as you said up front, it leverages the power of a smart device, like a smartphone or a tablet, to do really interesting things in gameplay. So those interesting things really break down into two big buckets. The first is the technology, the smart device, makes the game super accessible, super easy to play, super fast playing. It does that it does all that rules management, bookkeeping, all that stuff that can sometimes clutter up these games a little bit, games of its type. So, if I want to, for instance, one of my golems wants to attack one of your golems, it's as simple as we take our little Bluetooth device, the TDI stylus, touch the golem that wants to attack, touch the golem he's attacking, and then the app is going to compute all that stuff for us. It's going to figure out what my chance to hit is, all the modifiers that apply, it's going to tell me if I have line of sight, it does everything. So, when we first started playing that golem prototype and developing the game, it felt like this breath of fresh air. I mean, we've played games like this for years, we love them, but we started to become conscious of just how much time you spend when you play like the average minis game or minis board game, just how much time you spend looking up rules and trying to remember how line of sight worked and what happens here and the modifier should be this, no, it should be this, let's argue about it kind of thing. All that goes away in Golem. And as a result, the game plays very, very quickly as well. So, a pretty fair-sized game of Golem Arcana, you can play about half an hour, which for a minis game of this class is really fast playing.
I see tournaments, best of 3.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first big bucket of things we do, make the game fast playing. But there's another bucket of things that the technology does for us that allows us to basically do things in a board game that you couldn't do before. So an example of that is our scenario designers. Each game of Golem, you pick a scenario and play it out, like many games of this type. Our scenario designers have this very rich toolkit that they can use to embed secrets, surprises, hidden things, little interesting scripted events inside the scenarios themselves that are completely unknown to the players when it begins. So, we begin playing, and as we move into certain areas or as we do certain things, we might be triggering unexpected surprises. We might find things. We can, for instance, run into a non-player character in the middle of a scenario and have a conversation with him, much like you might have in a computer role-playing game. That would then change the battle, the outcome of that conversation. We might run into a fetch quest. In the middle of play, I find something unexpected in a region, and I'm told, there's a character over there on the other side of the board, and if you can bring this thing to them, you will gain victory points, or the battle will change in some way. What all that means is essentially the app in some ways kind of acts like a game master in a role-playing game on top of our miniatures game. And so our play has this extra level. It's the tactical play, but there's this extra kind of narrative level above the tactical play, which we're really excited about, because what that means is that's a tool we can use to make our fantasy world a richer, more livelier thing that players can connect with. One of the things we learned from way back in our old tabletop days, games like Shadowrun and Battletech, is we learned just how much our players love those worlds and love being a part of them, and love getting into them, and this is a tool we can use to further that. So similarly, another interesting thing the software does that allows us to do that couldn't be done before is that fantasy world I've been describing is actually a living world, and the fate of it is entirely in the hands of the players. So every time you play a game of Golem Arcana, the results of that game are actually sent back to us, back to our server, and we have some logic running on that server that is using the results of those thousands and thousands of games, and it's basing the future of the world off those results. So which factions are rising and falling, major developments in the ongoing war, all of those are being triggered by actual games. And what that means is anytime you and I sit down to play, our particular game might be just one of those key pivotal battles that changes the course of the war for everyone.
So with politics being what they are in real life, in the game world, would you be able to write a faction out of this story by players competing?
So something as drastic as that, when I talk about the players charting the future of the world, we're working very hard and very carefully to give the players a lot of kind of levers that they can pull, and a lot of things that result from players. Something as dramatic as an entire faction disappears and all your pieces are useless probably wouldn't happen, to be honest. But But still, we think we'll do a good job of really cementing to players just how much their play is impacted impacting the world and how the world is reacting to what they're doing.
Well, here's a question. Computer rolls all your dice and stuff, does all the calculations. Do you have different dice levels associated with it, or is it just pure stats?
So I'm sorry, I don't think I followed the question.
Well, like in
Stats or-
Warhammer, you go to combat, you would roll 2 dice, or
Yep.
however many dice
Yep.
you use. Does the computer actually use like a dice system, or does it use a different type
I see what you're saying. So yes, so our game, by the way, is entirely our game system is entirely percentile based. Percentile dice, D100 in RPG speak, and now the computer will roll those dice for you if you like. The tablet will roll the dice and it will tell you what you rolled, and it is a pure like random number generator dice system. However, because we know that there are a lot of tabletop players out there that they don't want to give up control of the dice. They really want to roll the dice themselves. That's important to them. It's important to the feel of the game. The game comes with a percentile dice that you can roll yourself if you'd rather do that than letting the tablet roll for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that in the overviews that I've seen. That's pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. How many models are currently in the line?
So right now, in this first wave of product, there are essentially 12 unique golems that are available right now. 6 of those come in the base game set, and then there are 4 expansions of 3 each, but 2 of those expansions are just duplicates of the golems that are already in the base game, if you want to put more than one of a golem type in your army, for instance. New figures come out every month. So in September, we're releasing a golem we call the Jagara Colossus, which is a big, like 7.5-inch tall miniature, a giant looming thing that, when it enters the battlefield, in fact, it's so fearsome that it actually crushes and destroys all the terrain it walks across as it crosses the battlefield. Then we've got new figure sets coming out every month after that.
And how long do you have that projected for right now?
Well, right now, our product through February is pretty much locked in, and we've got all that. So for the next 6 months or so, we've got locked in, and the plastic is being manufactured. And after that, who knows? Hopefully for let's see, BattleTech's been around for almost 30 years now, so let's go 30 years.
There we go. We can do that. Plans on more factions?
Inevitably. Plans on more factions. So I talked about how the players are going to, the fate of the world is in the players' hands, and there are all sorts of interesting things that can be triggered by, players winning enough games and all of that sort of stuff. You can bet that additional factions and civil wars within factions and all that sort of thing are part of what will be happening.
That's good. That's good. I like it. Are there plans for fiction?
There are plans for any fiction. Actually, yes, and some of the fiction has already been written. And in fact, when we release new scenarios, scenarios get downloaded to your tablet automatically when they become available. And you'll be seeing quite a few of those. A couple a month, probably at least, coming down. When we release new scenarios, in many cases, we'll also release corresponding fiction that goes along with that scenario that helps kind of ground what's going on there and what's happening. And that fiction will be released free to you, and on your device, the same device you used to play the game. You'll just be able to click a link and drop that into your e-reader or your iBooks on the iPhone or wherever you just drop that fiction in and read it at your leisure.
Very nice. Anything you want to add?
I think that just about covers it. We're having a great show here at Gen Con. This used to be a giant wall of Golem Arcana, and now there's none left. So
have you sold out every day, or today?
We sold out yesterday. We sold out today. We've got more coming in tomorrow morning. We're scrambling to get as many in as we can.
Excellent. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I'll get you all this whenever it's up.
Outstanding.
Thank you, guys. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Thank you.